I observed Sacred Heart this week,
Mhm.
and where I'm going to go, and I'm excited because I'm bringing in all these books. I don't think they realize that I'm doing that, and I'm also doing something that I learned from a teacher. We've never had on here, but I shouted out before. Her name is Natalie, and
Yeah.
she's the person I observed who, she was an English teacher at
Mhm.
New Village, and it, she brought in her books, and she had a lamp,
Mm.
a sofa, and a very nice chair,
Yeah, I think so. You
and a,
mentioning that, yeah.
and a rug, and they just loved that. And the students started associating reading with comfort. It was really cool. I really learned that from her. So
That's
I'm going
great.
to do that there.
Oh, cool, smart.
Ridiculous. It's like people like you and me, we're getting walked all over. I wish that things were different. They're just not.
Hey there. Welcome back here. Pod and Deliver. Ruben, today we're looking at a film, actually a 2019 film titled Teacher. This was directed and written by Adam Dick, starring David, hopefully I get this name right, Dastmalchian. Uh, in the film, his name is James Lewis, and Kevin Pollak's in the film as well. His name is Bernard Cooper in the film. Ruben, I watched this film recently, and I had no clue what I was watching. I thought it might be a horror film because the trailer looked like there's some violence or something going on, and there is some violence, meaning that this is a film about bullying. I'll say it right there in the top. And this teacher that is spotlighted, this James Lewis character, you see him being bullied as a child right off the front, and then you could see that he's dealing with it throughout his whole life, dealing with his father in his mind. He's recollecting. He's a heavy drinker. He's going through divorce. A lot of bad things happening to him as this movie starts setting out. And then you see that through his eyes, he sees some of his students, and there's some bullying going on there. Some really harsh things, and you see it where these kids are being made fun of. There's a lot of cyberbullying going on in the film. There's a couple of characters that uh, one by the name of Esme Perez, and she plays Daniela Lopez, and then Preston Walsh, and his name, I mean, it's Matthew Gary, but he plays Preston Walsh. And these young people are really, they did a good job, but you see them being tormented in the film. The teacher sees it, and so he gets to a place. You're wondering, what is he going to do? And then you think, is this a teaching film? And he is a teacher, and you see that the young lady in the film that's being spotlighted, Danielle Lopez, is having trouble reading. She has some type of reading disability, and he's working with her. But the other kids watching are poking fun at her. Some of it has to do with race, some of it has to do with just being mean. And so this film goes on, and as it's going on, I'm just like thinking, what's going to happen here? Is this, you're not sure if this teacher's gonna, blow up. So I think that's the anticipation throughout the whole film, is like, what is this teacher going to do with this information he has? And he also has a history of being bullied, and he's trying to also move on with his life. But I think overall, Ruben, I was trying to think about it because I knew you're gonna ask, do you recommend it? I wish we gave us grades, because I would give it like a C, barely passing, because I think at the end, at that time, I just really didn't care anymore. So, and that's not good when you don't really care too much about like the ending of a film. You're like, wow, do I really care about this? And do I feel good about the ending? I mean, do I feel? And I don't want to spoil the film here, but there's definitely resolution at the end. But Ruben, yeah, I would have to say overall, I can't give it my full heart, just because it got me to a point where I wasn't sure what this film was trying to say to us, and I just didn't really care for it.
Wow, you and I had a very different experience in this
Really?
for this film. This film was it's very hard to watch, and it's interesting because this is a film, I think, at heart about bullying, but I hesitate to say it that because people will think, "Oh, I got a gist of this film." No, you really don't, because it centers, I agree with you, around the David Dastmalchian character, who is an effective teacher. However, not a no, I'm hesitating to say he's ineffective, because he does have some good qualities to him, but he was bullied as a child, and so but he's not effective in how he handles the students in the class. And there is real tension there with his character. And so, this is where fiction and feature films to me are more effective than documentaries, because this is way more effective than a doc. I know we've seen documentaries, but this hit me a little deeper because the bullying felt so intense, and when a teacher is out of his league, out of his element, and how to handle it, it really is uncomfortable. And there was a couple of times I had to stop the movie because it really got to me to see these students getting bullied. There's a scene of real power and discomfort in the discomfort for the viewer, but real agony for the student, where he's being stabbed through on the bus with a needle through the bus seat by this bully. And you're sitting there, and I have not felt as uncomfortable and as jarred watching one of these movies that we've reviewed in the 3 years we've reviewed movies. It does say something about how to handle your class and what not to do. Don't do what this guy did. I think the director writer was really pointing out something. There was a moment in the film where he did not view the attack of this student. A student attacks another, the bully. He's also a baseball player, and his parents are just Kevin Pollak playing it to a T. This this parent who's obsessed with his child getting to the big leagues, going to college, and perhaps one day getting to the big leagues, but really overly overly protective of his son. But we find out he has a double life later. But what happens is his son is bullying another kid. The teacher walks out and says, what's happened? And he takes the testimony of a student, and over what he knows to be true. He did not see what happened, and he reports what happened, but he didn't see it. And that's why you have to be very careful when you write these incident reports to say what you saw. And this is what the students said to me, but because he didn't see it, he reported a half-truth, and we don't get to see accountability and discipline towards the proper student. So that student who bullies keeps doing it. It's really a critical part of the film for me, and he makes mistake after mistake, and this small issue becomes a monster. For me, it really was strong. I agree that there was some moments where it got out of hand towards the end and it turns into a horror film, but it got me too much. And on one hand, it's not a totally accurate portrayal at the end of teaching, but on the other hand, the movie got to me. I have to say, I did like it, and overall, by the way, the performances we mentioned, Dastmalchian, great. The fear in his eyes was palpable. Kevin Pollak, we mentioned. I think Sean Straley is the baseball player, the bully. He turns in a really good performance. I don't know. It's just we saw two different movies.
Yeah, I think it was. I'll be honest with you, it is that ending that really threw me off because like you shared, the acting's great, and there's some things you see this guy making a lot of mistakes. So I was like, oh, why do you keep making mistakes like this? But he's emotionally already involved. I will say this though before we go off. To be fair, my son Orion sat through it. He saw the last 2/3 of it, and he really enjoyed it. He really loved the acting of David Dastmalchian, and so he was like, "Dad, I liked it." I go, "Okay." I just didn't feel it at the end. But we both, we're not always gonna like the same films, but definitely, this is a film that our audience might consider seeing. And with that, I will say this: have a good night. Thank you for joining us on Pod and Deliver, and we'll see you soon. Okay, bye bye.